Must not have said anything too horrible yesterday. Welcome back for the second session of talking about the budget. We do appreciate the fact that you're willing to communicate these basic components of the budget to the public. And as you know, that's why we're breaking it down into some smaller chunks, hopefully to make everything more understandable. Yesterday, as you know, the transportation and infrastructure that supports growth, one of the three basic objectives of the budget, we discussed with you. So today we're going to talk about keeping the community safe. And then tomorrow, of course, we will be presenting the entire budget, including that last component, taking care of what we have. Most of what we're talking about is taking care of what we have. So obviously, you'll see that piece and the rest of the budget tomorrow. So let's dig into this component having to do with public safety. Time and again, as you all know, the public has told us that public safety is the highest priority in our annual Taking Charge budget survey. That came through, and we have reacted consistently over the years by reflecting that high prioritization in our priority system for spending in government. Citizens consistently tell us that a quick, effective emergency response is City Hall's perhaps its most important duty. It is also our highest priority. We are fortunate to live in a community with a police force that is truly the envy of departments around the country. Because of its community policing approach, because of its talented and professional police officers, and because of its strong record of success. Lincoln's police officers are getting the job done. There's no doubt about that. Lincoln's violent crime is 42% below the average of other communities with similar population size. And our burglary rate is 39% below that average. Those are our two main indicators that we've used over time. Lincoln Fire and Rescue is equally recognized on a national level for its high level of patient care and successful medical outcomes. If you face a medical emergency, you want the life-saving skills of a Lincoln firefighter paramedic by your side, believe me. Through the first 6 months of 2016, Lincoln has doubled the national survival rate for cardiac arrest. Our firefighters and paramedics are an important part of that process and that success. Earlier this year, Lincoln Fire and Rescue was awarded the American Heart Association's EMS Gold Award for its excellence in patient care for heart attack victims. Lincoln's firefighter paramedics are saving lives. During the national recession in 2008 and its aftermath, cities across the nation faced budget calamities. A great many of them were forced to lay off firefighters and police, even though obviously safety is the number one concern in every city. Lincoln faced tough times as well, but we were able to get through them without reducing the number of firefighters and police officers. With that, though, we also couldn't keep up with the increased needs resulting from growth, especially in this city where we've been so successful over the last few years with the growth model. Since I took office in 2007, we have added 5 firefighters and 7 police officers up to this point in time, increasing LPD's force by 2.2% and LFR's staffing by 1.8%. But during that period, the city added over 8.7 square miles to the city, about a 10% increase, and more than 32,000 people, a 13% increase. Imagine that as the size of the entire city of Kearney, Nebraska. The capacity of our excellent police officers and firefighter paramedics is being tested by that growth over the last decade. LPD and LFR have to manage new responsibilities. There's more area to cover, more people to serve. The work has also become more challenging with greater levels of public scrutiny, an introduction of new medical practices, new improved medical practices, growing expectations concerning evidence collection and processing, and the introduction of technology. While extremely valuable, it also increases the complexity of the work and the time necessary to manage that to learn and manage that complexity. Our administration's 2016-18 budget will add funding for 6 police officers, 4 of whom are new police officers. 6 new firefighters and an ambulance are a part of our budget as well. Over 19,000 times last year, Lincoln Fire and Rescue, were called upon to provide a quick and effective medical response. That's up 7.1% by 2014 and 22.9% since the year 2010. Growth in both the general population and in the number of elderly citizens is driving that increase in medical calls. We simply cannot provide an appropriate level of medical care to our citizens without a 7th staffed ambulance. Ensuring a quick and effective medical response is a fundamental duty of City Hall, and that's why the 7th ambulance is one of our highest priorities in the budget. While police calls for services have declined, the growth in the city's geographic area is a challenge for LPD. There is simply, again, more area to cover for each officer, stretching our resources and making backup for other officers in high-risk situations more problematic. Crime, as you know, has been a prominent topic in the community for several reasons, including several high-profile crimes in Lincoln in June and July. We must acknowledge that an overall decreasing crime rate doesn't overcome the perception that crime may become an increasing problem. We have to be responsive to the community's concerns, and crime is increasingly on their mind. We will continue to watch crime trends carefully and systematically. And that's why our budget includes funding for 6 additional police officers, including 4 new police officers in response. Working together, the council and my administration added 2 officers last year, but did not identify an ongoing funding source. This year, those 2 officers are now fully funded under the budget and will continue in service. So altogether, there will be 6 new police officers funded in the budget. New police officers and firefighter paramedics will improve response times and help cover the growing city, relieve the workload on our stressed medic units, provide critical backup for police, and improve safety for our first responders altogether. Adding these staff will help ensure that we do not slip backwards on safety as the city moves forward and grows. It's important for Lincoln's residents to understand that while more police officers and firefighter paramedics are critical to keeping Lincoln safe, there are many other city programs in our policing system that contribute to a secure community. Parks and recreation activities generally, including things like swimming pools and the community learning schools, keeping kids engaged after school, keep our kids in positive activities and away from crime. Libraries keep our kids focused on education and out of trouble. Our Stronger, Safer Neighborhoods programs and graffiti prevention efforts prevent the appearance of disorder that contributes to crime and encourages neighbors to work together to prevent crime. Aging Partners helps Lincoln's elderly find the support they need to remain in their homes safely and live healthy and active lives. Our health department is a national leader in preventative health services. Lincoln must continue to strive to be a complete community. A strong community policing concept combined with the services that create a high quality of life is, I think, an unbeatable combination for keeping Lincoln safe and secure. It is the reason why you see services like neighborhood swimming pools, library hours, the Pioneer Park Nature Center for another health information and referral and in-home services. All will be preserved in the budget that we release this week because they are all part of a greater system. Yesterday, I told you that a growing community is a community that invests in infrastructure. Today, we need to recognize that a growing community must also remain diligent in protecting its citizens. Families will not live in a community where they cannot be assured of strong medical and police response. Safety is a critical foundation for a growing and thriving community. That foundation, in turn, allows us to build our economy and our quality of life to an even higher level. Adding 4 new police officers, 6 new firefighter paramedics, and a new ambulance strengthens the foundation and ensures Lincoln can continue to grow. So with that, I'll leave off, and remember tomorrow, the rest of the budget will be conveyed to you tomorrow for release on Sunday. So I look forward to continue the conversation with you on our goals for the future in the coming weeks.
Mayor, on the question, sorry.
Sure. Why don't we get Tom and the rest of the crew up here, because
Is there any,
in case you get too much detail
with
for
the
me.
increase in emergency calls and so on, and I'm assuming a decrease in fire calls, at least that's what it used to be, is there any more thought on different kinds of vehicles to go to emergencies, not sending so many vehicles, the fire truck, the medical, and so on? Have you looked into that at all? Is it more efficiency when it comes to response to emergency calls?
Well, fire and police are no different than the other departments in the city. We're always looking for efficiencies. That's why we've been able to keep the number of personnel down in departments other than fire and police. So we're always looking for new ways of doing things. We're always asking our department heads, including police and fire, how how we can do things more efficiently, and we will continue to look at different ways of doing things. That will be under discussion.
I know this has been discussed though for some time. It's been years, I think, that they have discussed the possibilities of reducing the ambulances and so on going to the emergency, not the ambulances, but the fire trucks going to the emergency calls. Is there any movement in that direction at all in trying to make the calls more efficiency when it comes to emergencies?
Well, we're constantly looking at ways to deal with more efficiency. As you know, we just recently asked for a new police radio system, fire radio system. We're putting in, what is it, up to $20 million on that, and on fire station relocation and the new fire police combined facility. So all kinds of things are going on in terms of increased efficiency.
Nothing on the vehicles then. There really is no major discussion on trying to reduce the amount of vehicles that go to emergency calls and so on.
This budget is not dealing with those kinds of things, but we will continue, as we always do with every department, the discussion on greater efficiency.
On the police and the officers, the uptick that we've seen this year, unconnected, unrelated homicides, does that kind of emphasize the need for increased officers and to be vigilant and so on in that area?
I'm sorry, the question
The
again?
uptick in murders that we've seen this
Yeah.
year, unrelated, and there's, no causal effect there, but does that kind of enhance the need? For
Well,
firefighting?
the public perception of safety is extremely important. And we want the public to feel safe. That's very hard in a day and age where your television is full of crime incidents around the world involving terrorists, where in the short term there may be a rash of burglaries or a rash of, in this case, at this moment in time, a rash of murders. These are serious matters, and what we want to be extremely careful about is identifying trend lines. Right now, up until this point in time, our trend line on crime has been down, down, down. And the art of the matter is not putting resources in when you don't need them, but to be very careful in this area that if you think that the trend for any reason might reverse, to be ahead of it and keep the trend line down. And that's our management objective. I don't know if you guys wanted to add anything. I didn't mean to cut you out of the conversation. Please feel free to comment.
So I know a lot of people have wanted to add police officers because Lincoln is still actually a little bit below the national average for how many we have, for how many police officers per thousand. So I guess how did you arrive at the 4 new officers, and did you consider adding even more?
Well, we consider everything. I mean, obviously there are city council people who are concerned about it, the public's concerned about it, and so we start the conversation with the universe of alternatives, and then we talk through with our experts here what are the greatest needs. Obviously, we have to keep in mind what historically budgets have been in this city, and you can only increase them at a certain pace, otherwise you're getting ahead of the taxpayer, or the citizens as taxpayers. And so all things are considered. We considered more officers, we considered less officers, and again, as we tried to point out in the remarks, the consideration of how many officers you need depends on how you use them, and it depends on how you use your other departments to help them. That's the whole idea of community police, and I think it's because of that idea that we have an edge, a definite edge in terms of how many police officers are needed in this community. And you have to remember that every community is different. We have a community filled with people from small towns who have high values, and that has an effect on our crime rate as well. So you've got to look at things in terms of our own history, and in terms of our own people, and in terms of the broadness of our system and how all of the elements work together. You can't just take one indicator based on what exists in other cities and say we need X number of police officers. The bottom line for us is, do we have enough police officers to drive the crime rate down? All right, you good to go? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mayor.